everybody. Welcome back to the Board Game Live. This might be one of the last three, and I could not think of any person better than talking about new beginnings and what we've learned than Jared Bendis. Jared, the host of things that you've done with your lifetime is spectacular. Like, I've done a lot of things. I've done a lot of things. But you put that number to shame. Like the number, like in a week, the number of things that you do. So we're talking about beginnings and endings, and obviously this has been a tremendous surprise for me, and in addition to my life, TikTok. And so I thought we'd go on a little like historic retrospective as we talk about opportunities, the app things, and so forth and whatnot. So your life has changed a lot since since TikTok began.
And I've only been on TikTok since, mid the pandemic. I had to wait until my username was cleared up before I would join because someone had taken my username and I had to get them thrown off the app. And that took about 7 months. So,
wow.
Yeah. But the reality of it is, and actually it's funny, so everyone should know, you invited me on the show and then told me what the topic was, which I really think is an important distinction to make here. But I don't think
I think I mentioned it, but just badly.
Yeah. No, you just said, what date are you free? And then I'm like, okay. I think you mentioned it like since things are ending, not that's the topic. But, the sort of like the topic being the air that we breathe. Oh, I just thought that, But I want to say that
Why is it running out? It feels like it's running out suddenly. Is there no more air in this room?
There's no more air. But I think what's interesting about this is that even without the ban or the not ban or the sell or the not sell, this is a fluid situation that we are in. I mean, it's very important for everyone to realize, not just in the gaming community, that, there's this weird thing about the things that don't go away, the permanent things that we do. I have an archive of every video I've ever made with a spreadsheet and a database that's local to me. I could literally pick up my entire TikTok and post it to YouTube. It'll take a few months, but I could do it. I could just pick it up and go. The items themselves, just like when people talk about the board games, right? You could take, Conquest Princess, because I can't remember the name of the other one, which is the one that I have, the backwards Conquest Princess. You've got to learn to fix that. Anyway, that game will live forever. There's no clay inside of it. There's no batteries inside of it. It's properly cared for. 50 years, 100 years from now, somebody could pick up that game and go, what the hell is this? But they could play it if the directions were written well. Maybe the social media links wouldn't work. Maybe the videos wouldn't be there. But the items we build exist. We're not talking about that. We're not even talking about the delivery mechanisms because the web is streaming. What we're talking about are the social media connections. We're talking about the conversations. We're talking about the people. We're talking about the relationships. And the rug pull that we're worried about is what happens when the relationships between you and me are not going away. I know where you are. I've got my core people. But what happens to the 20,000 plus people that are following me that I can't pull them back? Because the 2,000 people I'm following, I can find them again. And that's what we're worried about. And that doesn't matter whether the government bans this app or not. One flip of the switch, one toggle of the algorithm, one tweak of the mechanisms, and we're back in the same situation.
I think you've just proven why you're the greatest guest for this topic to begin the month. Number one, thank you, Jared. And I think the word that we should talk about in exactly saying what you're saying is access. What really has ended up being at jeopardy is the ability to access these people who you already have some level of connection to. Your fans will find you if they're actually your fans.
But they're not really my fans. And that's the funny thing about it. The truth is,
there's gotta be. I'm a fan, Jared. There's Bowser's here. Bow Wow's a fan.
The rug pull is separate from the curtain pull. The rug pull is that we lose our platform. The curtain pull is that we find out there are only 50 people watching you. Now, don't get me wrong. I like the illusion that there's 21,000 people following me, but I could probably list the people that need to know where I am and what I am. So the algorithm makes us feel, TikTok has made us feel connected, which is good, but also given us the illusion of more connectivity, which isn't, I wouldn't say bad or good, but it's just not real. It's an illusion.
Let's talk about. There's a theoretical number, if you remember what this is called, and it's what's base battalion sizes in the military air base, which is 255 people, that a person can only have that many connections, like solid connections to people in their life. Like the human animal maxes out at 255.
It's funny you say that because when I was in college, I was in one of those large lecture halls in chemistry class, and I'd be sitting.
You're in chemistry class. Didn't you major in dance?
That was graduate school. This is an undergraduate degree. It was back when I was trying to become a physics, electrical engineer, double major. I started out going to be a physicist, but everyone had to take chemistry. So I'm sitting in like the back of the room eating Cheetos, and the professor looks up and goes, "Jared, you bring enough for everybody?" And 300 pigs will turn. And then all of a sudden, he's like, somebody wake up Davey. And then Davey wakes up really quickly. And I mean, I was shocked about this. And I knew the professor really well. And as time passed, I turned to him. I said, "How did you know all of our names? I mean, I've been teaching for years, but he goes, "Dude, I knew like 6 of your names, but I wielded them like I was calling on you next." He goes, "The 6 of you, I knew. But there were people that were like so terrified that I knew their name as well because of you."
That's really hysterical. For my college story I was the guy in the back of the class who was having the one-on-one discussion with the professor who was down on the I was always, this is a problem for anybody who wanted to hide in the back of the class because I was not comfortable having all these people behind me, but I really needed my questions answered.
The thing that I think is really interesting is that the conversation that we are really having comes up a lot in the work that I do that's non-game related. And it also comes up a lot between the difference between American and European users. So I don't know if you're familiar with the European concept of the right for data to die.
Please tell me more.
So, the concept is on the internet, everything is forever. Now in Europe, it isn't. On Europe, you can actually have things expunged from the internet. You can say,
tell me more.
I want this gone. And there's a right for you can actually have data removed from European websites if you want it gone because of this idea that we shouldn't be cursed by data that's personal, that's out of date, or that's whatever. And this it's a European concept, and you can look it up. It's actually a law around this as well. But what's really fun for us is that when a faculty member approaches me and says, "I want a new website for my project," the first thing we say is, just like in game design, how does it end? Because a website doesn't last forever. No. So the moment you start a project, we want to know how that project is going to end. Conquest Princess is going to run X number of copies. You're going to print X number of copies, and that may be the only print run you ever do, and that could be successful for you. Because if it wasn't, you can't guarantee, you're not banking on a second run. You're like, if this project sells this run, I am successful. Now, if people want more of it, that's a different project. It's part two.
Right. We are. We're going to stay on this topic, but I have, since you said Conquest Princess 3 times, I have to mention. Today was the posting. We won #1 game of the year for 2024 from Hungry Gamer. We clocked in at number 9 for best solo game of the year from Not Board Gaming, and we hit number 10 for best co-op for Grant Lyons best co-ops for the year. So Conquest Princess is a perfect example. And
what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, and will we print any more? Maybe not. The number of accolades, there's a difference between it being critically successful and being an amazing something and being a business success. So to your point, you want a website. Where does it end? Where does it go?
When does this project end? So any project you begin, you must think of how it ends. And what's funny for me is that one of my favorite books, and it's not a really good book. It's a really weird book, and you can find it on the internet with a quick search. It's called Finite and Infinite Games, and it's about the philosophy of life in the difference between what are called finite games and infinite games. A finite game is an activity that has a beginning and an end, and an infinite game is a game that goes forever. The example being that your a business is supposed to be an infinite game. You enter that business, you personally may experience that business, but then you may walk away from that business. But that business, it's not about we started it and now it's going to end. You want it to last forever. You won't be there for it, but it should last forever. But most activities we do, they're finite games. They have a beginning and they have an end, and we have parameters that judge those things. And as so many of yeah.
One of the things that makes that so incredibly healthy is the human animal can appreciate or survive anything where they can imagine where the ending is.
But we can't imagine our lives as finite games because we don't remember the entry point and we won't see it after it's over. So we experience our life, which is a finite game, as an infinite game because we experience only it from the middle. The beginning and the end are invisible to us. I love this book for these reasons because it really gets you thinking about the differences between what we play for, what are goals, and how we evaluate things. But let's talk about TikTok for a second. Let's go back to this app. When I got in, I didn't think I was going to get involved in silly video debates about, team sleeve and team no sleeve. And I look back at some of these videos.
Team cookie cheater, team desperately cookie cheater. Like, oh my God.
Oh my God, cookie cheater. I actually forgot about that one. But the other day, when I was making my corned beef and my hands were covered with barbecue sauce, I was like, "Where are the cards?" I filmed it. I didn't even post it. That's literally that's all I was thinking of. But then I got on here to make core content. I got on here to tell a story, to talk about a situation. I didn't get on here to have interactive pieces. I didn't get on here to have weird threaded conversations, things that when removed from this environment don't stand alone. And now that I'm in this environment, I watch not as the environment is ending, because by the way, the environment's been ending, federal government aside, for months now. The moment we started looking at everything being about the TikTok shop, everything changed.
Oh, it did.
It did. We are now the commercials between the commercials on QVC. Like
also, yes. And as you're talking about finite versus infinite stories, understanding that an ending is not inherently a bad thing.
It's inevitable.
Also, it can potentially be a good thing. So when I was an adult, I was VP of marketing for software development companies. And the average tenure for people who did what I did as VP of marketing for those companies was between 18 and 24 months. So what that meant was, yeah, that's really a thing. So either they jumped to a bigger opportunity or people flipped because to go and they wanted to get in a direction. And marketing is always first in, first out. So because it's a cost center. So what that ended up meaning is I was reinventing my position and redoing this thing, every year and a half, or going a year and a half hard and then taking 6 months off while I discovered, what the right next opportunity was. And I lived appropriately because I understood all of this was ephemeral.
But I look at things that people are quote unquote known for, right? And I love when you're looking at like pop culture stuff and realize that like most actors, most TV actors, they've got one role, and that one role may not pay the bills.
Or if they're lucky, two.
But there's not going to pay the bills for the rest of their lives. So they curse themselves. I mean, that's the thing about, Eldon from the Cosby Show, who had to like quit that job at the Trader Joe's because people kept wanting to gawk at him. But now, he still, it's a weird thing to think about, the fact that even if you're successful, you may only be known for one thing, and that only
Yeah.
be a period of time. It's not the whole life. It's been a weird, talk about a year. It's been a weird year for me because where I started is nowhere near where I finished, and I could be depressed by that, or I could just say it's a natural evolution of life. When I was younger, I was very poorly paid in IT at the university, and I used to joke that I made less than people who were answering the phones in the help desk. And I'd go, I make less than those people. And I go, I could quit my job at any time. And my manager would go, you shouldn't stay at one place forever. And I mean, that was that was a way of saying, but in November, I celebrated my 30th anniversary as an employee at Case Western. I've been there for 30 years, you know. And so while my team members are constantly looking for work, and my manager was like, "What are we going to do when they leave?" And I go, I'm not going anywhere." She's like, "Yeah, that's the only comfort I have." But then I had to remind my boss that I'm going to be 53 years old. A decade.
Oh, you're so young, Jared. I forget how young you are.
A decade goes by like that, and then all of a sudden he used to realize that. Like, I always joke because he's 2 years younger than me. I go, even if I make it to retirement, that's 2 years you'll have without me before you retire. Like, just the idea of what are we doing and how we're doing it. It's all about these constant changes.
It is about these constant changes, and this is about the topic about picking your endings. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Board Game Live. We are doing a little bit of a retrospective of where we started with the app and where we're going next. And as this is beginning and endings are completely artificial, and you get to define them, except for birth and death. I thought Jared Bendis would be a fantastic, and he's proving me right, guest for this topic. So, when we're talking about where we started, for example, I was wondering if I was going to tell this story, and I decided I was. My very first video for this is me with Kaiser Cucumber. We have a 3D printed Kaiser Cucumber. We made a very select number of them, right? And it's just me being
Slower.
excited
Build
to
the product slower.
Yeah, so this is from Mouse Cheese Cat Cucumber, and our new game coming up in February puts Kaiser Cucumber at the center of the action again, and it's actually called Kaiser Cucumber in the Gang's Mechanical Corners. But I did this app because my ex-boyfriend said, "Hey, you need to do this thing," and I was like, "Okay." And so I went there and I'm like, I did not understand it. As a person who loves long form drama and movies, or things like One Piece, which are infinitely long animes, I did not understand the joy of short form video. And so I did this video, and at the time when I am making little helicopter noises with Kaiser Cucumber, I'm actually homeless. And living in my business partner's living room, trying to scrape enough money together to pay off the stuff for my divorce and to get myself my own place. And it was hard. And so I dropped myself in so many decisions I had in my life. The only way that I can understand a thing is usually by doing the thing. And so that was my mindset coming to this app. Do you remember your mindset, other than somebody has my name, I have to get my name back?
No, I know exactly. It's a weirder story. So I have a bunch of coworkers that are younger than me, and every time I would start telling, I talk in stories. That's how my brain works, and I relate things.
Well, the human animal remembers stories.
That's why we do it. And one of my coworkers goes, no story. And he was in meetings, stop it with the story. And then one day he turned to me, he goes, you need a platform for your stories. I don't want you to think that I don't want to hear your stories. I don't want them told in this venue. We need a better venue for your stories. I want there to be a venue for your stories. I want everyone to hear your stories, and I want them to last forever. I don't want them to end at this table. And so I went to YouTube, and I posted a couple of videos, and I already had a YouTube channel for some long format stuff I was doing, and it didn't feel right. and it's weird because I had my first viral video on YouTube. The first video viral video on YouTube, I was doing a tech demo. My hair is a mess. I'm a mess. The video is I'm a mess, and the comments. Next time, try demonstrating a comb. What's with your hair? Did you mix up your Rogaine and your Viagra? I mean, literally, like, brilliant. I mean, they were great, snarky comments, and that's YouTube.
Is that video still up? I sort of just let it go.
Yeah. I look like crap in it. I totally look crap in the video. And then I went over to Instagram, and it was such a picture platform that people felt like I was spamming their feeds with my video. And I'm like, well, this isn't right either. And so, because, so I came here and I did joke because I posted one in January, then I posted one in February, and it's been like 2 years and about 5,000 videos later. But I'm about 4,900 videos in right now. I have a database. Here's my problem, and you say it differently than not, is that I followed the rules of TikTok, but I broke them because you said short format. I spent the first 6 months doing those 1 minute videos. Well, the moment they told me I could have 3 minutes, I took 3 minutes. And the moment they told me I could have 10 minutes, I took 6 minutes. I'm not stupid. I've only posted like a couple of minutes that are 10 minutes. I'm allowed to go an hour. They will let me post 1 hour videos. I have a really good reputation with, I can literally record and upload a 1 hour video if I want. And I know that I will never do that. And the thing here is when they're like, well, you should just go to another platform. I go, but all the other platforms I can't post my content because I haven't made a minute-long video in years now at this point.
I make one 15-second video every day. And
you not the creator fund then?
That don't matter to me.
No, because if you're the creator fund, they yell at you.
Yeah,
they say the video's too short, they yell at you.
That they don't get posted here. They get posted on YouTube, who loves my 15-second videos.
Oh, I've seen YouTube videos. I always wait for them to be longer. I go, where's the rest of the video?
For you and I, that's a start of a conversation. Like, hey, do you want to be the guest for the app ended review? Like, usually it's a start of a conversation. I just assume you're on board, Jared.
There's always
a lot of things.
Trailers. No, but this is the thing. Like, my fans know. Yeah, my fans know that, like, if somebody comes really snarky at me, I will make a video that is 9 minutes and 45 seconds long and around 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Like, you know what? I'm not even talking to that guy. I don't even want a response from that guy. You know what? This is just about that guy. And what ends up happening is that, like, it becomes the only way they can respond to my video is to watch the full video. So it's 10 minutes of punishment. And I had one guy once do it, like, you posted a 10-minute video. I'm not watching this shit. And I'm like, well, you don't get to respond.
Question. When did the switch flip for you when you went from 1 video a month to 5,000 videos?
Oh, like like immediate. Once I got my rhythm, because like the joke is, well, first of all, I stopped doing daily. There was a time where I would do daily, like everyone says you should, and instead, like, I'll probably post 15 or 20 videos today. I mean, they're all lined up. I'll have to do my editing. When I get in the groove, I'll do my editing, and I don't wait. I'll just post. If it's ready, I'll post it. If it's ready, I'll post it. The only time I ever try to oscillate things is if it's too much of an ad, like too many product ads. But, going back to this for a moment, when I post, it's a matter of what are you posting for? And I think
what are you posting for, Jared?
But that goes back to like the category. Like, so I have playlists, sorry. But it's not just the playlist. I've got my own playlist. I've got my own categories of content where I'm just like, it's a personal diary thing. And I know there are times where I'm like, man, I wish more than 300 people saw this video. I do. We all do. We all have that wave.
I would lose my mind if 300 people saw my videos. I'd be like, whoa.
No, I get every video gets my 300 views, and then, when my one video got almost 2 million views, I had one video that went completely viral. And it was right after I joined the fund. Oh, that was so nice. But like, Yeah, it's very funny for me that which videos get responded to, which videos go viral. But the
Let's
truth
talk.
is,
Let
I make
Let's focus
content.
on that for a second. So, a lot of people's journey as they're figuring out content and regular posting had everything to do with the algorithm. So, picking what you were going to do and how you were going to do it to try to get ahead of the game was absolutely a driving force for the content that I was seeing and the advice I was getting. And I was like, okay, you need to do 3 to 5 videos a day. You need to post every day. And that changed depending on the month. Like you would see there would be a shift on which of the algorithms was in charge, and which part of it. And somebody was like ended up teaching everybody. It's not one code of math; it's a competing set of codes of math that then they prioritize and reprioritize based on the platform's total goals. And the platform's total goals were very different at the beginning or the middle, where I started, and very different now that we're in the age of TikTok Shop. Like all of those things are very, 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 very different.
There's a Simpsons episode that I take really to heart, and it's not one of the funnier Simpsons episodes.
Is it monorail?
No, that's a funnier Simpsons episode. It's the one where Homer becomes a fine artist, an avant-garde artist. So he makes something stupid, and then everyone buys it. So he does it again, and then nobody buys it because it's derivative and boring. And that's the nature. That's the thing. And one of my mutuals on this, who isn't in the board gaming community at all, they got famous like after I knew them. So I was just mutuals with them because I liked their content. And then they got famous because they and their boyfriend were at Disney World together, and he got down on one knee to present the ring, and then they reached into their pocket and presented a ring. They both planned on proposing and surprised each other while a friend was filming that they proposed to each other mutually at Disney.
Aww.
Now, this video, I mean, they ended up on the
happiest place in the world.
But here's the problem. My friend gets 50,000 new followers. It gets millions of views. At the time, they had a shaved head, but in the video, they were femme presenting because instead of wearing a hat, I'll use the pronoun she decided to wear a wig that day because it was easier than wearing a hat. Most of their content is as a waitress sitting there going, I hate these people and blah, blah, blah. It's really just, it's my content. But if, millions of romance followers follow this person, that's not what they're going to find. And you don't know what of your content is going to go viral. And so what generally happens is, or the fear is that the one day you post an outlier video, that's who you are. And while
that's who you'll be punished by because it'll send out to people who are not going to engage with it.
So
that definitely happened to me because my most viral videos have everything to do with being a dice goblin. And I just liked doing dice goblin content because I was at these shows and there were crazy stuff. And I was like, these clickety clack math rocks are amazing. Come and look at this kinds of stuff. But I really wanted to talk about how games get made, what is interesting in and around games. And so for me, the platform really took a turn in the direction that I needed to do when I started doing the Wednesday board game lives. But
so for me, when they go, every rule of social media says pick your lane, build your brand, blah blah blah, and I think that is a recipe for heartbreak, because at the end of the day, your brand is a finite game. This idea that if you decided tomorrow that you wanted to make a game for teen little kids, but everyone's going to go, but that's not who you are. And you're like, well, it is who I am today. And then you realize that the brand that you're selling is not all encompassing. So I made it very clear that my brand is Jared Bendis, and that my brand is going to include every single lane I choose to interact with.
This is very good and very important advice, and at the core of today's topic. Hey, everybody, if you're just chiming in, welcome to one of the last Board Game Lives. Our special guest, of course, is the Board Game Dragon, Jared Bendis, and we're talking about beginnings and endings. So there is, as somebody who does marketing advice for game companies and game-adjacent companies, when people do short-form video, they should definitely focus. It is about consistency and focus. You want the algorithm to understand who you are and get you to the people that it understands who you are. Okay? And so, but if you're an individual, that can feel like a prison sentence with no end. For example, I think one of the best TikTok phenomenons for Tabletop was DM Therapy Brandon. He went through an entire journey with the app, even running Dungeons and Dragons for members of I think the Cleveland Browns. Like he went on an entire adventure with it. And then he was like, I've done everything. I've published books. I've gone to conventions. I've done this thing. I think I want to be done. I think I want to go do this other thing over there. And then I've also seen other people who have done very personal content about their journey, like either coming out or transitioning. And and then suddenly that became their identity. Something that was inherently transient became how they were defined. And if the app liberated them financially, that also penned them in a place that is inherently temporary, right?
I visited 131 Goodwills, 113 Goodwills last year. And when I made my supercut of "Oh shit, it's a Goodwill," and then of course I did a supercut of just "Oh shit," which is a friend of mine's ringtone, by the way, which is really funny. So when I message him, his phone goes "Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit" in my voice for about a minute, which got me in big trouble once. But I'm not buying games constantly right now because I don't have the space or the room or the need. So I can't. But the funny part of it is I visited 3 Goodwills yesterday, but it's all yesterday. And actually, one of them was 2 days ago. One of them at an amazing find. It was like the year ends on a high, and then I had an amazing bummer. There's a game where I was so excited, and I opened it up, and it had chess pieces in it. It was not the right, and I didn't get to film the initial shock. I'm like, I can't wait to show this. And they're like, I'm not filming. But you could still see the disappointment when I filmed. But the point is, I did 33 Goodwills this year, which is still a lot for most, but I didn't buy it, most of them. But the point is that if I am only making content for content's sake, then I'm a slave to the audience. And then I'm just a dancing monkey. And I'm not here to be a dancing monkey. And this, by the way, I'm going to go back, by the way. One of the things that I love is in social media, when I was teaching social media, the term is stalk before you talk. You've never heard this?
Tell me more.
Stalk before you talk is when you join a new platform, you need to learn what that platform is. One of the things that Facebook confuses people about when it joined was that if I ask you, hey, where were you born? You'll tell me. How tall are you? You'll tell me. Where do you work? You'll tell me. Because each question alone seems innocuous, but when you add them all up, it's way too much information. And this idea of just because someone asks you the question, doesn't mean you have to answer it to build this perfect profile on you. And so what I tell people is join whatever social media place you want, and then just experience it and see what people do. Find what that world looks like. And so while I did join and immediately posted a video, and I did join and immediately we all fall into our own traps. I think the real trick to it is, I'm not going to have TikTok says, this is what you must trend. This is what we do. Dude, I'm not chasing trends here. I'm not going to, because otherwise that's not my experience with the app. And people have said to me, they're like, this app isn't for you, old man. And I go, I got 21,000 followers and an enormous amount of content on here. This app is more for me than it is for you, but you can say what you want to say. But this idea of these tools, of these connections, of all these things becomes really, really important. So going back to the fact is if he wants to stop rolling for Sandwich, he's got to put a really big break on that thing, because people are going to be disappointed. And so I've just made the decision so that people aren't disappointed with me, because I'm not, is that the ebbs and flow of my life, the varying topics that I go into, that's the consistency in my channel. And so when something does go viral, and I wake up one morning and find that I have 300 new followers, which hasn't happened in a while, but when it does, it's wild, because you wake up and you're like, oh shit. And then I make a video that said, hey everybody,
what
thanks
do
for
300
joining.
followers look like? Like, I dream of 300 followers.
Oh, there have been a couple of moments, but there have been times where I'm like, hey everybody, I know you all came from the food videos. There are plenty of food videos.
Oh,
I'm
here for the puppy videos.
No one's here for the puppy videos. The puppy videos are doom. Nobody wants puppy videos.
I love the puppy. Come on now, Jared. I'm a person and I'm right here, Jared.
Nobody wants the puppy videos.
Don't yuck my yum.
Those are terrible. The food videos do really, really well. Matter of fact, what's really funny is I'm going to Vegas next week for work, and somebody had said, what's your big steak? Because normally I go to the same steakhouse, and last year I changed up. I went to a different steakhouse, and I really felt screwed at the restaurant. And someone said, are we going to go for the steak this year?
Oh, I remember that video.
Well, here's the thing. I looked up online, and I'm like, I filed an open table review, filled out the open table private message to the restaurant. No one ever replied. And I had so you know what? I called the restaurant up and I said, out of curiosity, can I email you some stuff? And they're like, sure. So I emailed them. I said, here are the 2 videos I made. Here's the open table thing that you ignored. Here's the other open table thing that was supposed to be sent to you that you ignored. Just wanted to let you know. I wasn't asking for any compensation, but I wanted some closure on it. And they're like, well, thanks for letting us know. And I'm thinking, you know what? One of those videos has 230,000 views. And guess what? I got more than $200 from that dinner. From that crappy dinner, I made more. For a while there, every time I'd go and have a steak dinner, the video would pay for the steak dinner, if not then some. So I'd be like,
that's
all
hysterical.
Right, these things pay for themselves.
All right. So you end up following different people for different flavors of their content, because people had multiple threads and so forth and whatnot. So like my Curvin content is when he's giving the death stare. Like the more death stare he's doing it, the more I'm going to for you, it's usually the I'm having a bad day. And so I stop and watch the I am having a bad day videos. And the puppy videos. Like that's definitely a thing.
Do you know
but
one of the reasons why the I am having a bad day video started was because there was 3 days where I didn't post and a couple of people noticed. A couple of people who were following me religiously were like, Jared, why aren't there any new videos? Are you okay? And I'm like, dude, I got plenty of content posted. And so I'm like, I gotta break this rhythm, but I also need to not shy away because I also know that it helps people. If I'm telling you I'm having a bad day, that'll help you in your bad day.
All right, let's talk about this. So we have 2 very good and in opposite direction advice going. Number 1, if you are interested in your channel being successful, as far as getting it to move towards a business goal, if you understand it is about that business goal, then you should have a very tight focus. You should pick something that you feel like you have a lot of legs to do this with. Maybe not indefinitely, but I can do this for a year, or I can do this for 2 or 3 years, and so forth. Like the feel of that is right. But simultaneously, now we are in the realm of, hey, am I going to go continue in the short form universe? Where am I going to go? How do I do this thing? Do you instead rebrand as your personal journey? So like Curvin is an example. It's his personal journey. He's freeze drying food. He's making games. He's telling people about diversity. He's giving death stares about
those
things that make him.
Videos are the best. Like when Curvin starts talking about diversity, I'm like, ooh, you know, this week in the board game community, I was there. I was watching it. And by the way, I hate those forums. Like every time he goes, this week's in the board game design community, like I'm in all those forums and I was going to go idiot. And today
I love board game people. I love board game spaces. But one of the ways that I make sure that I continue that love is I do not go into spaces which inherently attract darkness. And I feel like forms is a legacy item. Like, do you know they've mapped the human genome, Jared? Do you know how much of you is probably Neanderthal?
Oh, I have it. I forget what it is, but I did do the 23andMe, and all my data is gone now. No.
Yeah. But for most people, it's less than 1/4% of you is Neanderthal. But do you know how much of you is legacy retrovirus? Probably.
or mushroom. You know,
Yeah, no, it's literally
I am a
it's
fun
literally
guy.
8%. 8% of you is things that tried to pretend to be part of you to survive in you, that then permanently became a part of you, and then that got passed on to the next generation of yous. Like, just think
Yeah,
about
I
that.
mean, the truth is that there are times where I stop going on Facebook, and there are times I still scroll through Facebook, and I realized that if you really want to have the lowest esteem ever, is LinkedIn, because nobody posts anything. Every only thing that people post on LinkedIn are these amazing life achievements, and when you put them all in one place, it's like I'm a loser, because you nobody can compete with everybody patting their back on LinkedIn, and so like it's very. And by the way, I'm
I have
so
a family member who only communicates with me via LinkedIn direct message.
oh my God. And when they message me on LinkedIn, I go, what, don't even. But like, so next week is the Consumer Electronics Show, and I'll be posting probably a few hundred videos, literally a few hundred videos about the latest and greatest tech and
What?
toys. And what's funny is that last year I had posted them all on Instagram, and I checked. Only when I got back did I find out that any video over 90 seconds was cut off, and no one said anything because nobody noticed. And that could be like the wow, tree falls in the wood, or Jared posts a video on Instagram. But that becomes a matter of, but Instagram, it is, I was a courtesy thing for the people who were, anyway. The thing about all of this is we all, there's an Oscar Wilde quote, we ask for criticism, but we desire praise. Uh, you know, we all want a bigger audience, but we forget what a bigger audience really means. We
Ah,
all,
ah, let's talk about this. We think a bigger audience either means success or connection, and those are the two things that we're chasing after in it. But we're really is swapping out effort for different flavors of effort, and the human animal is not designed, or we do not grow up, or most of us do. I mean, obviously, some child stars and whatever, like grow up with an idea of all these people looking and identifying who they are. Like, have you seen anything about Trevor Noah's like why I had to give up the Daily Show?
oh yeah, 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 yeah.
And he's like, I just cannot function on a day to day level with that many people. Like I need some level of anonymity so I can go to a place and appreciate a place, not go to a place and attract a crowd so I cannot see the place.
My brother met James Doohan at one of his early conferences, and he had my brother has like really weird Star Trek stories, which is just a strange thing. He's got a bunch of them. He's got a James Doohan story he tells. He's got a Walter Koenig story he tells. But he was sitting at lunch. He had literally lunch with, and he's early in his career, so he's semi-famous, whatever. And he's sitting here at lunch, and everyone's, hey, beam me up, Sky, the whole thing. And my brother was like, I've been here for 5 minutes, and I'm already annoyed. How do you live like this? And I cannot quote the response that he got, but the point is that when I've gotten older and I've seen the celebrity writers, I love celebrity writers, and people are like, how dare somebody ask for their favorite flavor of this, and they wanted 12 glasses of this drink and this sandwich and this whatever and blah blah blah, and it's like, dude, you try living in a hotel room or a bus and you never get to go anywhere, and you're richer than anything, but you can't go anywhere, then yeah, you'd say, oh, you're taking my order? This is exactly what I want.
Well,
The
people's
comfort.
expectations become this thing that define you, or the crowd is what ends up trapping you in. All right. So, uh, hey everybody! Thanks for joining us for the board game
On to
live.
15
Jared
minutes.
here. As we're talking about beginnings and endings, and I would like us to shift the discussion from to what you will be able to carry with you when you go to your next place. And the very first thing that I need to remind people of is when like a game store or an activity or a show ends, there's a large chunk of people who just stop the activity and do not migrate. We think we want to create a like a cognitive like, oh, of course they go move on, but most, like a large chunk of the people, I think it's either 30 or 40%, just stop the activity, period. Okay.
But it's worse than that. So the 50,000 people that started following my friend after their romance content, they haven't lost any followers. People do not hit unfollow unless they're angry. They just swipe and figure, oh, I'm an FYP. You know, you know, I look at a lot of people who have way more followers than me, who have way less numbers than me, because the engagement is low, because everyone hit the follow button, but then they didn't do anything. And
Right.
this becomes a question of what does your brand leverage and what are you doing here? For me, it's an archive. When people say to me, Jared, you ever talked about blah, blah, blah? I can pull up the URL and I go, oh, I got a video on that game. I got a video on this game. I rarely have to repost because I have all the links. I can go, oh, you can watch this conversation I've got right here. But when we talk about this, look at it from this perspective. Why am I spending an hour of my day today talking to you in front of at most a dozen people? What is, and the point is that if there was nobody here, I would still be talking to you. I'd pick up the phone. We should have a conversation. We probably wouldn't, but this forces it. But the other thing here is, how many pearls of wisdom, how many nuggets, how many bits of inspiration, how many moments do you need for something to be worthwhile? How many lives do you have to save for
Or
that?
how many moments of joy do you have to have with a person? Like, I have had more conversations with you in the last 3 years than a lot of people who were supposed to be important in my life. Right?
Right. No, I understand that. I mean, you know, you don't bring me flowers, but it's a relationship, and the idea is very public.
Is that, are you complaining about the wisdom? Like, is there actual wisdom, or people who just don't want the wisdom? Sassy, like, what are you like gaslighting us about?
No, but there's always. I mean, I know what I do. I'm a teacher for a living. This is what I do, and I know I go into teacher mode, and I always. So one of the things I love that I don't think I've ever said it on this app, but when I'm standing up for a group of people and I'm giving a talk or I'm giving a whatever, one of my lines is, I preach it like it's gospel, but it ain't. Like, this is,
oh yeah.
Do not confuse my tone and level of enthusiasm for accuracy. And because you can believe anything I say if I say it with authority.
All right. Okay. So Jared, you and I are closer in age. So this
are
is
you
one
like
of the
80
big
now? Because you keep
I'm like 80 now. This is one of my big surprises from this year. All right. So as an Xer, this is what ends up happening. Okay. Somebody presents a problem. You present a solution to that problem. If you care. If you don't, you just disengage. Like, if you then care about the person after giving them the solution, then you circle back to why did this happen, and do we want to prevent it again? That is the Xer philosophy. Like, nuclear bombs could be happening. Let's get the solution, and then let's talk about why it happened. Okay? Millennials have a very different approach to this. They must talk about their feelings of the situation before a solution is presented. Before they care about a solution, they need to know how much they care about it. Okay? Like, and if you do the Xer like pattern to them, they think you're starting all over.
But
because you're talking about the feelings means that's the beginning of a conversation, not the end.
But I think about Usenet forums and the arguments that we'd have there. And the only way if there was a flame war going on and you could end it and definitively end it, if you came in
How
and
can you
ended it,
definitively end a flame war?
oh, you just were like, here are the facts, boom, mic drop, right? If you do that, they'll just pretend you weren't in the thread. They'll just keep going. So what you have to do is you have to make a mistake towards the end of your argument so that the only way that they can jump on you is through the first half. The same thing goes with what's the big programming place? What's the big, everyone goes for coding questions?
Oh,
I'm blanking on the name of it. I was just on earlier today. So
yeah.
the best way to get your answer to your question is you post your coding question, you log in from a different account, and you post a wrong answer. More people who are going through these will want to slam the person who put the wrong answer in and then help you than if you just said, please, can you help me? Because people want to be angry and right about something, not just be helpful. It's too altruistic.
Forums are such a weird animal. Like, going again, like, the genetic of people's darkness. Like, I avoid, like, I have a learning disability, number one. Number two, I
Is that why
understand.
everything's backwards on your screen?
Yes,
Anyway.
that's why this doesn't make a difference to me. Number two, I understand fundamentally that, like, anonymity breeds, like, potentially volatile behavior, and you never know how somebody's sending a set of text or how somebody's receiving a set of text, right?
Ooh, I'm face blind. I'm emoji blind. Like you'll send an emoji, I'll go, what do you mean by that emoji? Like is that tears of joy? Is there are we having aubergine for dinner? Like I cannot read emojis. Like
when aren't we having aubergine for dinner? All right, so that is very important about like the success of this app had everything to do with the fact that you talked about some of the other places. I never thought I was pretty enough for Instagram. I never thought I was smart enough for Twitter.
you got the moves for TikTok?
I don't have the moves for TikTok. I just have like an unflinching desire to like learn how this worked, and the only way I could do that was participate in it. There are a whole bunch of TikTok games and people going back and forth, and me like interested in how the all gay rhythm was like gaming people into different behavior, like where they were moving the cheese, all this kinds of stuff.
But you know that that's not true too, right?
What?
So about a year and a half ago, it turns out that while the algorithm exists for your video to go viral, a lot of times it's somebody at TikTok Central going, I like this one, and pressing a button that further pushes it out. Like it came out. And so there were a couple months there where I just think I had a fan at someone at corporate where they're like, well, he's not that big, but let's give him a boost. You know, I like this guy.
I get it. But I am talking about the gamification of like, this person said to do the thing, so now we're going to go do a thing. Like these environments of like, and it changed people's behavior based on the discourse.
Well, the TikTok shop is doing the same thing, right? How many... Have you seen me post a video twice about the same product, except for the food ones? Because I feel
these are the ones that I like. Those are your videos that I avoid. I want to hear how Jared is doing. I want to hear about the puppies.
You can see my food videos are the best. In my opinion, my food videos are the best because here's the thing about TikTok, especially when I'm traveling. I will post a video of me eating a burger at some place.
I have never seen you eat a burger.
It's been a while, but I'll post some video of me eating something, and the next video I'll be like walking down the street making a video and talking about technology, and some comment will go, "You fat fucker, look like you're about to keel over and die," and then you fat fucker, and I'm laughing because there was a food video one this way, and there was a food video one this way, and on the technology demo video, you're gonna comment on my weight, not the one where I'm eating. Like, to me, there's like lost opportunity here. And, you know, the one thing I want to bring up, I know we're going to run out of time soon, and this is about endings, is Elise Myers. And you know Elise Myers.
Maybe?
Really neurotic, uh, would make these really neurotic videos telling you a story and the little animations in the background, and then ghosted on TikTok. And they became really
Huh.
big. They became so big that like celebrities started hanging out with them, which is really weird because you've got this channel about like how neurotic and nervous you are and how everything is crappy in your life, and then all of a sudden you've got Lance Bass at your pool. Like it's very weird. Like all of a sudden, because it becomes what ends up happening is that you become like I never understood how Paul McCartney could write songs about the working conditions of anything like the common man. Paul Simon can write songs about bad relationships, but Paul Simon hasn't been like poor in a very long time. And in the late '70s, Paul Simon's talking about working class, whatever, and you're like, dude, when were you like? So for me, it's amazing when you see that kind of stuff happening. But how do you make your journey part of your brand? And I think that becomes part of this. And our journey right now is, if we needed to, and even if we don't, by the way, TikTok constantly rug pulls, right? If you watch my technology videos next week where I'm like, look at this cool thing, I'm not telling you where to buy it, whether it's good, does it, I thought it was cool, and I'm talking about it like I always do. Just like when I go, look at this cool thing that someone sent me for free. I'm not telling you to buy it. I'm saying it was cool and I wanted it. So I haven't made the video yet, but someone sent me they emailed me, would you like a snow brush? Yes. It's about to snow. It hasn't snowed, by the way, in like 2 weeks. I'm going to make a snow brush video with no snow. And the thing was like, it's like as tall as I am. You're going to send me stuff I'm going to use. I'll make a video about it. It's great. It's my life. But I'm not going to tell you there's a flash sale. One of the guys I know on here, his entire life is about bidets now. Like, dude, I can't do it. I'm not going to turn it. I don't want to be a bidet salesman on the internet. Nothing wrong with it, but that's not my job. That's not my goal. So when we pick up and move, the content won't change unless they make us do it. Like,
I think people should. Like, I don't think yours is because it's more evolved. And being on topic, the things that people will get to carry, like some people will be very sad because they'll have to do the hustle of getting to critical mass. And critical mass is a real thing. Like, if you have under X number of active people, then you are constantly struggling to get things to grow. And if you're over a certain size, then them interacting with each other gets things to grow. That's just statistics, right? So getting back to critical mass on these various places is a little bit of a struggle. But the things that you will be able to keep are, of course, your skills, your connection with other people who are interested in doing it, and the mindset that you would need to bring it forward and bring a success. Like, yeah.
Last night at midnight, I sent a bunch of texts that said Happy New Year.
Was that a big deal? Did something happen last night?
I then sent a bunch of messages on here that said Happy New Year. Like, I kind of went through my usual suspects. I went, Happy New Year. And then at like 12:10, my phone rang. And it was my friend of mine from Rochester who's in New Zealand right now. He was like, let's catch up. And I'm like, it's 12:10 at night. I don't want to. Like, I do want to, like in person I would, but like, you're in New Zealand. And I'm like, I should be complimented calling me from New Zealand like it costs any money. But it's just the idea of you're half a world away and you're so excited to have this conversation. I have built some real friendships on here, and I count you as one of those friends. And I've also built some really fun parasocial relationships. There are people that follow me. And one of my favorite things on here, and we don't talk about this much, but my favorite thing on TikTok, the thing that brings almost the most joy in my life, are what I call mutual parasocial relationships. There are several people on here that I am not friends with. I'm desperate to be friends with them, and they're desperate to be friends with me. And if you notice, based on our comments and our interactions, they're as thrilled when I post about them as I am when they post about me. And we have not hit friendship yet. We have hit mutual parasocial. And it's so hard because you know what I'm talking about. It is so hard to explain mutual parasocial because it is a joy in my life. And if some of these never convert, I'd be okay. But in the meantime, I just know that this is the same. What we do here is the same thing we do with our gaming. It's all about those little hits of dopamine and how we chase that dopamine. those dice people. What we do here, and if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. And if it feels like a job, then it is a job, and that's great. And earlier today I saw John Lennon posted on the John Lennon Blue Checkmark account that the Beatles are up for a Grammy this year, and somebody was like, "I thought you were dead," which I thought was a great comment, and it's a fair comment. And then you start looking at these corporate accounts. These accounts for people that are corporate accounts are very, very different. And even those corporate accounts have to be careful. They're very, very different than people who are just joyous about their life. And I again, this is something that I spent a lot of time thinking about, because if all of a sudden I became really, really famous for X, I'd still be making food videos. And you know what? That will keep.
I never see your food videos, Jared. You say
Are
you
you
make
kidding
them.
me? I make more food videos than gaming content.
Never,
Like,
never, Jared. I think I saw that steakhouse video. The don't go to the steakhouse. They screwed me. I think that was the only thing.
3 different playlists. One is called Food in the Kitchen. One is called Eating Out, and one is called Just Food. So Just Food is when I'm talking about a product. Eating Out is when I'm at a restaurant, and Food in the Kitchen is when I'm doing one of my cooking demos. Like,
I feel like I am a Jared fan, and I've been denied this. I'll have to go and search through your stuff to make this happen.
It's crazy. All right, bye.
We're gonna do some.
Where are you
summing
moving
up
to?
of the conversation.
Where are you moving?
We're gonna do some summing up of the conversation as we're gonna close things out. Today's topic was beginnings and endings, with the fact that the app is ending and people are going to go places. What are the lessons that you learned here? What is the journey that you went through, and what you should do going forward? So Jared was a strong advocate in your next iteration. Make sure your content is about something that you can do forever, and that something that you should be able to do forever is be yourself. You as your brand is his. Did I get it right, Jared?
Absolutely. I believe that you as your brand is, but again, see, that works for me because I'm interesting. No, that works for me because I'm a variety. No, but here's the thing. Most people only have one thing going on in their lives. I've got 20, so I can do this, right?
I've had a lot of different things go on, but I usually am just a one thing at a time person.
There's a stream of content that I've always wanted to do, but I cannot do. I want to be talking pop culture way more. There's a lot of conversations about Star Wars.
I would do an anime recommendation for old people channel. I would love that. Stuff,
but I do not feel not comfortable, or I don't feel I can have this conversation, but I can't post on it. Like, I don't post about, like, I just watched the series finale, blah blah blah. You're rarely. I've recorded a bunch that I've never posted, believe it or not. I just don't feel like anyone's listening to that. Like, it's not a thing.
All right, so culture has shifted massively. And one of the things that was an eye-opener for me this year was D-Light's Groove in the Heart. You're familiar with this track, of course, Jared?
Yeah, Green Acres.
Yeah, so I watched, like, earlier this year, a whole bunch of, like, Zennials did videos of first time reacting to Groove is in the Heart. And I watched this, and in 6 different videos by 6 different content creators, they all stated nobody does this in the club anymore. Like, you don't go to the club, and unless you are successful already to be on the dance floor, you don't, like, you and I, we would make a lot of mistakes first at the bar and then onto the dance floor after, and then we would learn. Obviously, you were a dancer. You were much better at this than other people.
I don't drink.
But then we would learn.
I was a club kid.
Right. Well, a club kid.
I was
like,
a club kid.
Literal club kid. Like, the bodies
are
are in the New York River. Like club kids. Like, those guys are good. Like, that's a different story. But the channel that I would do would probably be things the internet never learned about me because I predate the internet.
I love watching first time reaction videos of people watching films. And I was watching somebody watching Pulp Fiction. And when they were at Jack Rabbit Slim's, they're like, I think that's supposed to be Richard Nixon. And it was obviously, I'm like, oh my god, and there's some of these things I'm like, you're an idiot, and I go, oh my god, that's why I'm watching this. I'm watching these idiots, and sometimes they're not idiots, but sometimes they are idiots. And the same one I'm watching, they were watching Blade Runner for the first time, and he puts the photo in, and he goes, zoom, enhance, then zoom in and enhance cliche. And I'm like, are you kidding? This is where it comes from. This is the first zoom and enhance. Like you uncultured swine. Like the idea of and I love watching these first time reaction videos because of that. At the same time, I love going like I get angry, but I also love the joy of some of these things going like, so there's that mix. So I actually, yeah.
My favorite is either really young people interacting with things that were every day for you and I, or people who live their entire life cloistered and are now experiencing things like these classes. Like this classic musician who is like experiencing like pop culture hits for the first time. Like she's like a professional harpist. She's like, I'm going to play this music. And I'm like, oh, yes, I love this so much.
I'm excited because it's it's January 1st, and January 1st is really important because it's Public Domain Day. And,
oh yeah.
And so anything that was published before 1929 is now in the public domain, and any recorded music that was published before 1924 is now in the public domain. Because
nice.
Yeah. So the whatever. And one of the things that just hit was Popeye. The first iteration of Popeye came out in 29. And so, but not that iteration of Popeye is the problem, right? You have to understand, and so like chasing these things. And, it was funny because I was watching the comments and people were like, corporations are evil. They make copyright last too long. And then people were like, copyright should last forever. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, oh yeah, if I made it, my children should be able to have it. And then part of me was like, both of those, it should last forever, and corporations are evil for making it too long. Neither one of them would be aware of the fact that our copyright law is in the U.S. Constitution. Like the origination of the fact that our country is based on this concept that you own it and then it goes to the greater good. That concept of you make it, you own it, and then the greater good. That to me is what life is about, like this idea. And so when I bring this up, everyone's like, oh, no, like it's this fundamental philosophy that we start talking about. But let's go back for a moment about where we're going.
All right. No, I'm going to talk about this because this is very, very important. So I had PAX Unplugged, and, Princess did well critically and so forth and whatnot. But the big surprise for me was I'm completely voiceless after Friday at PAX Unplugged. Okay, voiceless completely, and I'm still recovering from pushing myself to her. But people would come up to me, and I had two different instances of people I did not know who were not like fans of our games, who came up to me and recognized me and says, "I love the board game design tip for the day," and I'm like. And I opened up my book because I had a book that said thank you and all this kind of stuff. And I was like this. People do not understand the waves of life and joy that they are contributing to. And all wounds are connected. And so when something hits you that is bad, you can choose to either let it end with you or amplify it. And and picking and choosing those moments really is sort of the legacy of what we do, Jared. Like either educating or entertaining. It is about what are you interested in amplifying, and what are you interested in deadening a little bit, because nothing begets pain like more pain. Like why do people act out is because somebody hurt them.
A girl I know years ago was a first responder for people who were in dire locations. The police would call her if someone was going for self-harm. And she had done this for a while. And she told me that she had been called out 255 times or 256 times and she saved 250 people. And I'm like, I can't imagine you've saved 250 lives. I mean, that's got to be the most amazing, rewarding thing that I can possibly imagine. And she goes, did you miss the part where 5 people killed themselves in my lap? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, yeah, like I'm just hearing I'm hearing the wins. I'm not looking at the scales of the loss. And, you know, with so many students, with so much strife in this world, with so much that we're pitted against each other, you know, there's so much stuff where it's very difficult, that for me to, I'm a survivor. If this app didn't exist, I would just, you know, suck it up, buttercup type stuff, because I'm a child of the 80s. No, you know, I would,
I forget you're so young. I'm a child of the late 60s and 70s. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, no, I mean, I grew up in the, you know what I'm saying. But the point is I realize that the more we share, if one person says that helped me, even if they don't say that helped you, but if one person was like, you know, I was able to do this now, or I didn't feel as bad about it, or my shame wasn't there, the more little things that we can do to prove to the world that there is no such thing as normal, and that striving for normalcy is a corporate attitude, that normalization of the term normal is what's killing everybody, that all of a sudden it's a matter of no longer where am I going to post the stories. I can post them to YouTube, but where am I going to find that community again? But again, TikTok's been flushing the community down the toilet for a while now. They have been by making us all QVC, right? They've done that. I don't want anyone to think about that I'm selling out my brand, because again, that's what I do anyway. But at the same time,
I hear you do food videos.
I cannot believe you haven't seen my food. I almost think you're fucking with me.
No, not one. Like steakhouse videos.
There are hundreds of food videos.
No, like it's
hundreds
so weird.
Of them.
That's so weird. All right, but
the
that's
point
very
is
important.
We need to find a place that's going to create what my boss a few bosses ago said. All that matters is impact with a capital I. That's all that matters, is where's the impact. And so right now I can post the stuff on my own server if I wanted to, but I'm interested in that impact. And that impact could be impact between you and me, or impact between total strangers. And we'll go.
That's interesting. I would qualify it as how you lift up your own joy and how other people lift up your joy, or you lift up the joy of others. Like the opportunity to join together for this kind of thing. That is really like being like old, gay, divorced, and poor. You become very, very invisible. And this app gave me an opportunity to connect with others that I will always be grateful for. And
nobody knows you're old.
And
with
also,
a haircut like that, no one knows you're poor.
Super poor. Super duper poor. And the shipping crisis was super mean to me. But at the end of the day, this ability to start over and to connect with others is something that when you get older, you lose access to. And that's one of the things that makes games inherently better. The opportunity to make new friends and be influenced by new people and sample other joy. And I think that is sort of the real success of short form video, is that it gave us single serving types of, so that without commitment, we could say, hey, I want to have that parasocial relationship. That's the guy I want to be friends with. Right?
You know, it's funny. One of the things that I love when you mentioned that is, what's your favorite movie?
Aliens.
Really?
James Cameron, Aliens is a fantastic movie.
The extended version or the non-extended version? Anyway, so
I like the extended version. I think it adds something,
the
but
version ruins the surprise for first timers. Like if you've seen the movie, then you would never want to watch it again. But if you've never seen it before, I like the original cut. But the reason I mention this is, if people say to me, "What's my favorite movie?" and I always tell them the same thing: it's Master Commander: The Far Side of the World. It's my favorite movie. And they go, "When's the last time you've never seen it?"
I've seen it. Like,
Okay,
this is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie. There's no way around it. Like, there's no way around it. I thought about other things like, "What's your favorite movie?" I go, "Yeah." And then they go, "When's the last time you saw it?" And I
Zazu
go,
wants you to repeat the title of your movie.
"Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World." Anyway, it's Paul Bettany.
That's Russell Crowe and
Russell
the
Crowe and Paul
ships.
Bettany, and it's Peter Weir. Anyway,
Yeah.
so the thing is, people say, "When was the last time you seen the movie?" And I go, "I never pop the movie in." I go, "Why not?" I go, I've memorized it, like, the whole thing in my head. I can replay the whole thing in my head. It's there. It's permanent. It's etched. There are certain things I don't have to put on because they're always there. We are in a space where people want things to be permanent, but we are creatures where things are fluid. Your favorite meal may no longer be your favorite meal. Your tastes may change. My favorite song is still my favorite song, by the way, which is "Starry Eyes Surprise." By the way, yes, that is my favorite song. And you, by the way, it's my favorite song because at one point my students were like, "Please stop!" I had it playing for 3 days nonstop, just on loop, like in my head. And I don't even need to play it; I can just do it in my head, right? And
I had a lot of writing to get done recently, and I had to reconstruct the environment when I was like, I have a learning disability, so writing at speed is very hard. So I had to reconstruct the environment when I was writing 40 plus pages in a week.
what's the music?
Right?
What's the music?
It's Depeche Mode. I was like, I cannot talk to anybody. I put Depeche Mode on a loop, and then I drink caffeine at these intervals during the thing. And suddenly, like, my brain reset to that environment, and I was like, okay, boom, 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 boom.
When
boom,
I
boom,
was
boom.
a professional coder, it was Star Trek 2341, 2341. And then it was all the Simon and Garfunkel albums in order. Like, I had the whole thing, and when I was studying, because I can't deal with lyrics, I discovered there are only two pieces of music that my mother burst into my room in high school and said, "What is," in college as well, "what is this crap? Turn it off." One was Led Zeppelin, but the other one was Scott Joplin. My mother cannot stand ragtime piano, and ragtime piano is the greatest thing in the world if you're trying to study, because all it has is a rhythm. You can't like hum the melody and there's no lyrics to distract you. So ragtime piano, and it's the freneticness of the way my brain works. Like, it is the heartbeat of my life. So like, but the point is, we are allowed to change. We are allowed to evolve. And when we first
and we have to. Like,
right.
I think you can understand this, but I think people don't understand this until they have enough life experience to realize this, is our perception of time is losing fidelity. You and I, our moments that are significant enough to register memory are getting farther and farther apart. Like when you're a child, not getting an ice cream cone and like being grounded for a week seems like forever. Like, I am literally now on like a 15-month cycle. Like this is it. Like, a project takes 15 months. This is now my time unit, right?
And you know that it's not going to be. That's where the board game forums are funny, because you know that the game you make is a product. You're in product development. We've had this conversation before. It's not gonna. It's not gonna. It may not outlive you. In other words, it may live on somebody's shelf, but one generation next they might all be thrown away. But that ain't your problem, because that's not what your goal was. You're not writing a symphony. You're doing popular press, and there's nothing wrong with that. And everyone's like striving for this grand old. I just love that. The thing that I think is also really important as we look at like what we are trying to do, giving ourselves permission to change. When I go to my conferences, I will clean shave, and then a day and a half later I will clean shave. As the most I can do, like 2 days, and. When I first started doing TikTok, I was shaving like religiously, like every 2 days. I was being whatever. And then there was like, oh, I can't be Scruffy Jared. And I'm like, I started looking at my content going like, but Scruffy Jared exists. Like, you've seen Scruffy Jared. Like I look in the mirror and go, oh, it's Scruffy Jared. And there are times I'm like, I got to cut the hair or whatever, because I do my own haircut. But the point is like, I was so this is the image of TikTok. Now I will wear the same blue shirts for the week while I'm on camera for CES because that's a continuity thing.
I'm gonna message you about
We're
the blue
running
shirts
low.
later.
We're
Like
running
the
low,
blue
man.
shirts are a thing. Like,
We're running
did you
low.
like live at Best Buy for like 10 years of your
No,
life?
it's really
Like,
weird. Wait, you can walk in. Wherever I go, people assume I work there. Everywhere I go, people assume I work there, and it's because I have good posture and an air of authority. But no,
and the blue shirts,
the blue shirts is great anywhere
they
you go.
help. Yeah.
Everywhere. But the thing is that like when I and now people see that some people know the Big Dog logo because I've and by the way, the Big Dog's been out of business for like a decade. These shirts are 25 years old. I just have so many of them. But the thing was is that at some point I had to realize that to be honest of me is to be honest of me. Like, so I look in the mirror and go like, it's Scruffy Jared Day. And it's weird because not everything is posted in order. Not everything is posted in a timely fashion. Like I always have to go like, by the time you see this, I'm feeling better, but I'm going to post it anyway. And I think that becomes part of all of this idea of what's that message? Who's your brand? What's the brand? And
All
if
right,
you're running a company,
this is where we're gonna end, and I'm gonna double down on what you're saying. Give yourself the opportunity change, and also realize, though the algorithm wants you to be one person, you are probably a lot more than just the person that is being presented.
This one other thing I got to interject because there's people
Oh,
in the room.
come
That
on,
hear
you
it.
and I will
No,
go
it's,
on
it's
forever.
on brand. Bezier Games, which I love, is pissing me off though. Because the video series you're doing right now is I played every game at Bezier Games, and here is my list in order. And part of me yells at the screen, "You're the marketing manager for Bezier Games," which he's not hiding, by the way. I met him. He admits he is. He's like, I played every game from Bezier Games and in order. And I want to go, I played every game from Bezier Games because I work for them and this is my job. Like, I wish they would add that line there just so I feel a little bit less like you're not me.
All right. As a adjunct story to that is, I've had to spend more time on BGG, and BGG. Talk about forums where people are mean to each other. Somebody like put my games on blast because they said the publisher rates all their games as a 10. Avoid. And so I looked at the reason how you should rate games on BG, like their suggestion of how you feel about them. And a 10 is I love this game. I will I want to play it. I don't think that will ever change. As a publisher, you shouldn't publish games that don't meet that criteria. That's like the minimum level for the criteria.
Your numbers, if the numbers are so small that you're influencing the numbers, then the numbers are insignificantly meaningless. So it shouldn't matter anyway. You should be able to give yourself tens across the board because there should be 500 reviews. And if there aren't 500 reviews,
oh my god, 500 reviews.
Okay, there
I
should
would
be 50
love
reviews.
Yeah, I would love there to be 550 reviews.
But you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But yeah, that's a really good point. But this goes back to, and again, I watched the video of the guy get shoved off the train, off the subway tracks, and
Oh
the
no.
comments were, yeah, some guy walked by and just shoved a guy off the subway tracks in front of a subway train. The guy
Oh
lived,
no.
and the comments were like, well, you shouldn't stand that close to the tracks. Not the guy who walked by and shoved you. Like we live in a world where well, you really got to be proximity aware. Like, no, there's no, well, you don't know what happened before the conversation, before he did that. No, I don't think I need to. Like the anger and the vitriol. I have a video I'm about to post later today where I know I'm yelling in the video, and I know because I'm yelling in the video, A, people are going to be mad, and B, it's going to get a bunch of views.
Yeah, also, the people who are responding aren't necessarily conducive to the rest of humanity, right? Like the vocal awfulness of randoms, you should not use that as a condemnation. Just like you should not teach like AIs how to behave based on internet behavior. You should not judge the humanity based on internet behavior. It is a very specific place that you've gone to, and yeah, it's definitely a thing. Jared, this is an amazing conversation. You've made us go a half an hour over, which is fantastic. What are your final moments and sum up? Where can people find you next? You're going to do the Consumer Electronics Show that you were saying?
Yeah, I leave for Saturday for the Consumer Electronics Show. So next week will all be about food and tech.
I don't think you do food videos. I've only seen that one about the steak.
I seriously, like, I can't tell if you, I don't think your poker face is this good. Like, I think you're going to go online and go, how did I miss all of this? Like,
I have missed all of it. I have missed all of it. Like, your 3,000 videos about this.
My video that's almost 2 million views is my olive popcorn video. There's a series of popcorn videos, bacon videos.
No, now you're making stuff up. Now you're trolling me. Now you're
grilling videos. Oh my God.
All right.
Anyway, but the real trick is I'm Jared X2 everywhere.
Oh, Jared times 2 everywhere.
Jared X2 everywhere. Jared is my domain name. I own jaredx2.com, but the truth is that I'm Jared X2 on all social media. So, and if you find a Jared X2 where I'm not there, where somebody else is there, I have a trademark, so it'll be going away. But I can't get Etsy to give it back to me. No one's using it, which they're fine with.
That is very interesting. We're talking more about this. All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming to the Board Game Live, especially after for the last 2 years. Next week, we have Nick Sparkman on, and we're going to talk about, like, what TikTok did, where we're going to go next, and how that's going to affect the game industry. So he's going to be my guest on the 8th. And then we're going to finish out the last Board Game Live is going to be James Hudson. And we're going to talk about short form video, the board game industry, where it's going, and the landscape of media and game sales. And so that is going to be the month in the Board Game Live. And then I'll probably take a break to reformulate it. And then the Wednesday Board Game Live will return in some form after that.
I mean, YouTube's the place to go.
Is it?
Yeah, or Twitch.
All right, you and I will have this conversation. I'll send a little text. You can yell at me and tell me what to do.
We can jump on a WhatsApp call and take care of this. Bye.
What's up? Okay. All right, but as always, Jared, thank you so much. Say goodbye, Jared.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. And as always, everybody, please stay safe and have fun. Bye.